Hey guys, Jeremy Wells here. Today we have Joaquin Niemann, the #1 amateur player in the world, ripping a driver here at Erin Hills in the US Open this summer. This is the only swing I got of him. It's really good though, and it's really worth looking at. So just to give a brief little overview, I think his takeaway is perfect. I'm going to go into detail about that. I think his transition is an unbelievable picture or image of the club head, the center of mass, kicking one way as a result of the lower body working in the entire different direction. So this club head really kicks behind him as he starts to get into the ground and open. And then finally, this position on the way through is one of the more demanding looking golf swing images I've seen in the last few days. So I kind of want to chat about that and any implications that might have in the future. So here we go. First of all, takeaway. I want to highlight 3 things I really like. 1, the club head path is working straight up the plane as the club face stays nicely square. So you'll see this club face basically matched up with the spine angle here. That's a preference of mine, especially in teaching. It really helps to simplify wrist angles, and your average person's face is way too open as it is, so I like this picture of having it on the spine angle. Second, his hand path is working nicely up and in as a response to his body rotating. So if you watch his hands, they're working in this direction. So there's no outward movement of the hands, there's no lifting in the arms early on in this backswing. Very much just a nice trunk and hip turn. And that hip turn is the final thing I want to focus on. If you check out his belt buckle, right there, you're not going to see any resistance, alright? That thing is rotating from the get-go. So all this stuff of resist your lower body, turn your upper body, well, that's not happening here, and I don't see any reason for it to happen. So he's just, in my mind, has one of the best best takeaways that I've seen in a while. Alright, so he's setting up to do some pretty good stuff here as he gets up to left arm parallel with the lower body. I want you to note how his right knee has straightened a hair as his left knee has added some flex, and that's a nice even motion. So it's not like his left leg went way out, his right stayed straight or stayed bent or whatever. This is nice and even, very free flowing. Left arm is getting nicely across his chest. One thing I like to teach is to get your handle in front of your right pec, left arm parallel. I think that's a decent position. He does that perfectly. And finally, this club shaft is nicely inside of the golf ball. You're not seeing too many people these days with a flat club head halfway back. I like kind of the slight vertical pitch of that shaft. I think it sets him up to do something really cool in transition. So overall, really doing well so far. Oh yeah, one more note. Hips are tilted slightly and shoulders are tilted slightly more. So I like that orientation. I like the hips to be tilted and the shoulders to be on the same angle or even slightly more tilted than the hips. So just really a lot of good stuff here. And as he gets up to the top, I want you to note, first, the left wrist is flat to slightly flexed or bowed. I want you to note that the shaft is perfectly hidden behind his hands, so pretty much right on the money. The club face is slightly more shut than his left forearm, so that's a strong grip and a flat left wrist. With as much rotation as he has, he can definitely get away with a face more on the shut side. I would say his body action requires such a club face, actually. As he's getting up here, I want you to note how his body, everything is working down. His head's dropping, his belt's dropping, his legs are flexing, he's really getting into the ground, he's getting ready to do something really cool starting right here. I'm going to mark the club head. 1, 2, 3 clicks later, this club has moved all the way over here. Okay? Really, really flattened. I'd call that kind of helicoptering back behind him. If you watch his right knee, it really aggressively works in towards the golf ball as the left knee starts to disappear from our view. It gets him to a point well before left arm parallel where his hips are back to square. His shaft is well flat or shallow early, and his knees have a lot of flex. So he's really open. He has a shaft that is kicked well behind him, a club head kicked well behind him, and he's really into the ground. And that's going to create a situation to do something really awesome into impact. So all this stuff's kind of a pattern that beautifully unfolds. As he's heading down into the ball, obviously his head has lowered tremendously. I'm going to put a green line on his right knee and on his belt buckle. And as he hits this thing, because he's so open and he's so into the ground, he can extend his lower body, so he can snap those legs together. He will elevate his belt buckle, and his right knee will work away from that green line. I think that's a really cool motion, and it's something I've been specifically studying with a lot of these really fast players lately. So his legs are down and around, and then up and back underneath him. Down, around, and then up and back under. You'll notice no space here between the thighs. Everything is nicely extended, and you'll notice an extremely full, free release if you check out how those wrists are looking past the ball. Absolutely not holding on to anything or any angle. That is fully thrown and released as he opens his body and extends. Alright, so that's all the really awesome stuff. The one interesting thing is how this extreme right bend occurs well after impact. I'm not an expert by any means. Actually, I know literally nothing about back injuries and whether that's good or bad long term, but I tried to just stand up and put myself in that position, and one, I almost fell over. Two, imagining the violence of his legs snapping underneath him, his hips extending upward as his head is pulling down towards the ground while swinging this club 120 miles per hour or whatever. I guess that could be concerning. And I guess time will tell. So that'll be a cool thing to watch going forward. When this swing gets out on tour, which it will, it'll be interesting to see how it changes through time. So it's cool to get good footage of these players early on. This is clearly an absolute world-class talent, and it'll be fun to watch to see what happens in the future. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you can pick something out of that to maybe work on in your own swing. Anybody at any level, if you focus on that takeaway, that will not hurt your game. I promise you that. And this idea in transition of the lower body opening as the club kicks behind the player as a result, that is a really, really good idea to think about and to try to figure out how to do. So, Joaquin Niemann, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Leave a comment and let me know any other swings you might want me to check out, and we'll keep this up.